Mike, now that we're locked in for this week, what made you say yes to coming back this year?
Well, Shark Island is probably my favorite wave, or one of my top waves in Australia. So whenever I have an opportunity to surf this wave, I'll take advantage of that.
Usually we're only going to be out there with 3 more people as well, so perfect time.
Yeah. I was lucky that things opened up and I was here for another project, and so yeah, it all worked out.
Can you take us through like what you say it's one of your favorite waves in Australia? What is it about Shark Island?
Yeah, I think the fact that how the wave comes in and wraps on the reef, and it's just super exciting. You know, you're coming in with full speed, so you're going as fast as you can go, and you're traveling through these chambers as you're going along, and it's super exhilarating, and it's just amazing. It's a great feeling, especially if you can make it. Because it's just like you commit and it's like, okay, there's some significant consequences if I don't make it. So the incentive to make it is really high, but the wave itself just runs really fast and hollow, super hollow. So it's like, you know, I've surfed a lot of different slabs, but what's neat about this one is that it slabs up and loads up and stacks on the shelf and then just runs. That's what makes it so exciting, is it just kind of runs down the reef. It's not just a wave that it's just one critical section. It's actually, it does that and then it just like runs down the whole length of the reef, which is super fun.
It is a wave of high consequence. I've had some of my worst beatouts out there when it's been 3 foot. But you seem to largely have remained unscathed from Ireland. How have you managed to do that?
Well, not completely. It's you know, early on, the year actually that I won, I got stitches. So I've only gotten stitches one other time for riding waves in the ocean, and that was in Tahiti. So you know, I wouldn't say completely unscathed, but you know, I have surfed reef my whole life. So there's particular ways you can fall and try to deal with it, and so far it's panned out, but I don't want to make any claims now, because otherwise I'm going to be toast this weekend.
This would be great to revisit in about 5 days.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully I'm not in the hospital or worse, you know.
You've had more like all-time waves than I've had hot dinners. Is there a little bit of you that's become slightly desensitized to like something that I would consider the best wave I've ever had?
Certainly, there's relativity when it comes to riding waves, right? Where, you know, your first day out, you'd be pretty excited with just a little whitewater to the beach, right? Just that thrill of the energy taking you to the beach. But as you become more proficient, your expertise gets higher, and you're able to unlock these different parts of nature, really, in these different waves. And so with those accesses, you become kind of complacent, not necessarily complacent, but you know, you can really unlock further experiences and further types of surf. So I wouldn't really say complacent. I mean, I still get thrills just riding small waves even. You know, even if it's small, I'll still have fun. But when it's big and gnarly, it's like, you know, everything's heightened. So there's definitely a like higher excitement, you know, the bigger it gets and the more gnarly it gets, for sure. But as you kind of get more skill to deal with these different situations, you know, you can unlock these different levels, I guess you would say. And yeah, it's just, that's what's one of the most incredible things about this sport and this activity. Is just like the ocean is just like, it doesn't seem like there's any boundary to it. Like there's always something more crazy, like right around the corner, you know?
You've been coming to Cronulla since the 80s. You've been a core part of the Shark Island Challenge for a long time now. Can you talk to us about what, on your mind, is the perfect conditions for Island to be firing?
Yeah, well, I mean, the best that I've seen it is like when it's offshore and just the perfect swell direction. You know, it's got to have the right amount of east in it. And not too big where it's breaking off of the reef, but just big enough so that it comes to the inside and then just wraps around the whole thing. I mean, that's ideal conditions. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what the exact direction is anymore. I think I might have known it one time, but I've surfed so many other waves and it's kind of lost it, you know. But yeah, in terms of the exact direction and size and stuff, I mean, I know what I like and I know what I've seen that is spectacular. So You know, I would say kind of that mid-range size, maybe not super big, because if it breaks outside of the reef, it won't be as hollow. So something that can stack on the inside, and I guess that's tide dependent as well. So all these factors kind of come together. You know, it's what makes it so special. Is it's not every day. You know, it's you need this pretty unique combination of natural elements to come together to really make it like special, like really doing it.
On a big day out at Island, you've still got the paddle across the channel, plenty of time for a bit of head noise, at least in my opinion. What's usually going through your mind, whether it be paddling out for, you know, a heat at Island or just for a big day?
Yeah, I guess I like that pause because you can kind of, you know, kind of process everything. You know, it's a little bit of time to process and kind of, you know, nowadays when it gets bigger, I don't like towing it as much. I like to paddle through surf and I like to be in the energy of the surf so that I get a feel for everything and just gives you a better, broader perspective of everything. So it gives some context to the situation versus just plopping into, you know, just the right spot. So I like the fact that it's like that. I will say sometimes on stormy days when there's no one around, I have the idea of like, okay, why is it called Shark Island? You know, there must be sharks around here somewhere. But
no matter how many times I'm told, oh, that's a dolphin's fin out there. Like, well, I'm still 150 meters out to the ocean.
Yeah, I know it's pretty interesting, but you do think about it. I don't worry so much about it as, you know, I would say, but sometimes could be, at any moment, there could be a large fish coming up on me, you know? So, but heck, I see, it was out the other day and there's like just swimmers just going around, you know? Like they go every day. So it's, you know, I don't think it's, you know, we're not really on the menu. There might be some mistaken identity, but I don't know, maybe for some crazy sharks we are, but yeah, you don't want to run into the crazy ones, I guess.
Not just at Island, but I guess at all waves. How has your appetite for risk evolved in, you know, in the generations that you've been surfing since?
I think, you know, as I mentioned earlier, like just being able to, you know, have a certain amount of ability to ride these more technical waves makes you, at least in my case, like I'm more eager to kind of engage in that because it's like it challenges your ability and challenges, you know, your perception of how waves are and stuff. So it feels like it's progress, and you're still expanding your horizons in terms of your experience and even learning new techniques or whatever it might be. But you're definitely pushing things a little bit more rather than just being complacent in a particular wave. And so that still, you know, can be very amazing, you know, like I'm still surfing pipe frequently, even if it's like 4 feet or 3 feet or whatever, just because it's so much fun and, you know, there's other ways to challenge yourself. But when it does get bigger and heavier, it's like, it becomes into uncharted territory for me. So I'm always like intrigued with that.
Yeah, right. So the uncharted is still exciting to you?
Totally, yeah, 100%. Like that's what kind of is one of the things that draws me into this. And, you know, I've been stuck in the ocean ever since being young because of that. Like there's so much, it's just so dynamic and there's so much to it. It's so vast in the different experiences you can get out there. So that keeps you know, lifetime, you know, disciple of that.
We were talking before just about the bodyboarding community. It's pretty tight. It's a very small community. Yeah. However, everyone's still trying to make money for their families, money for themselves. You're out there with 3 other blokes. Through your period of surfing comps, how has, I guess, the camaraderie between everyone out there evolved, if at all?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it kind of it touches on such a great topic because I think in my case when I was younger, I was so competitive that I was competitive with everything, and I think, you know, the older I get and the more experience I have going through life, I find the importance of communities. It's such a critical thing, you know. So. You know, from my perspective, I think it's great to have more camaraderie. And I mean, these events, they come and go, you know. You know, you can treat it like it's your life on the line, but in some cases it actually is. But it's, at the end of the day, you know, you're going to leave that heat and you're going to get back on the land. You're going to live your terrestrial life. You're going to interact with, you know, like-minded souls. And to me, that community is pretty awesome. And I think that it's, we need to do a better job of uniting and becoming more unified in our approach to things, and not working so isolated. And I'm probably the biggest, I'm guilty of this probably the most, because I'm kind of a loner, and I'm competitive. But like I say, I think I also understand how important it is, the community. So I would really cherish if more community got together and let's figure out how we can build this, or how we can get that next generation into this, so that we can kind of share and really share to the next generation what the wonderful things that we got out of it, 'cause it's such a great thing.
You've got guys like us that are just rusted on bodyboarding fans, will enjoy it for life. But what do you think's holding, I guess, bodyboarding back from reaching out to the next generation?
I think it's part of the community. We got to be more unified, I think, in one sense. And I just think it's awareness, bringing awareness that this is a really cool option for people to do, instead of maybe, playing a video game or doing some other sport. Man, you're not going to get a better connection to nature or a better experience than you'll get in the ocean. And probably the best way to get that initial interaction is on a bodyboard. And if you like to ride waves that are more technical and, really beautiful forms and hollow, and, really experience a tube, then bodyboarding is your vehicle.
This is a quick aside, but after you were in Blue Crush, all the way back in 2002, did you get more kind of public recognition, not from surfers, just from Gen Pop, people out there who were like, that's Mike Stewart, he was in the movie?
Oh, I never heard that until that moment right there. Actually, I was behind the camera most of the time in that movie, so I was doing most of the filming, the action water in the movie, which was a really cool opportunity for me, and it's something that I kind of embraced and got into, the whole filming aspect of it. I don't think there was much of me in the movie, so I don't think
it's freeze frame stuff. Right there.
Maybe. You're the first one who's actually said that. Hey, did that really change your whole profile? And that's funny that you even say that, because I think I got one shot in there or something. Yeah.
Good for that. Back to the 2000 challenge.
Yeah.
Obviously, got the chocolates that day in pretty challenging conditions. Was there anything particularly different? Did everything just line up for you over that day, or was there anything at all which you were like, this is working out for you differently?
Yeah, I mean, when I enter competitions, I never am so rare that I feel like, oh, I got this, never. And so that one, even to the very last wave and to the very last maneuver until everything. And then it was like, oh, I don't know if that was it or not, I have no idea if usually I'm pretty hard on myself. And so a lot of times I'll find myself actually doing better than I think I'm doing, or better than I think I should do.
There are blokes who will be surfing in this year's Island Challenge who are significantly younger than you, who grew up idolizing you as people, double their age have. How does that sit with you, knowing there's so many people who will be in heats with you, or will just be in your presence or surfing, who look up to you as kind of the guy for so long in bodyboarding?
Yeah, that's, I don't really contemplate that a lot, Yeah, that's cool. I'm stoked if they're appreciative of bodyboarding and what I do and stuff, and that's great, But I think in the heat, everyone's just probably trying to get good waves, So it's not so much. I don't know. I don't really take that on board too much. Yeah, that idea. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're all like-minded souls out there trying to, have fun or get waves or do well in the contest or whatever the objectives are. We're all kind of like-minded and engaging in similar ways.
If I can slightly harping back to the design stuff we were talking about off camera before, you're still heavily involved in the design side of science. Can you talk to us about where we are going in terms of bodyboarding design in the next 5 years, next 10 years?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Usually in the past, design, the bodyboards are a system. They're like not just shape, but flex. So if you get new materials in, then you can do some different things with different shapes, because they work, in the ideal scenario, they're working together in concert to get a particular result. So I think that, I think there's going to continue to be some development in regards to materials and stuff that should hopefully lead to better or different types of shapes and things. That will, probably, as we progress, it seems, the things are getting smaller and smaller, the nuances. But there could be paradigm shifts as well, So I don't know. I'm always open-minded to trying new things and, see what kind of design forms can result from that.
It seems like there's always this ongoing battle between barrel riding, aerials, and even just outside of competition. Like I feel like a lot of people do one really well, the other one they do competently. Do you think there's a peak for us just in terms of aerials that, Jeff Hubbard in the early 2000s was like flying 30 feet in the air, doing whatever, and that to me seemed like that was as good as it could possibly get. And how do people do that? From where we're at now, do you think there is still a next evolution of what people can do on a bodyboard?
Oh yeah, totally. I think that, what you saw was a big evolution, right, from doing maneuvers that you do in smaller waves in bigger waves. And I think that can continue. I think that there's probably a lot of opportunity in bigger and gnarlier surf. So I do feel that that's definitely another frontier that is untapped. And the sport has kind of gone through these different cycles where there's a competitive nature to it that kind of pushes people. And the next phase where it gets competitive again, it might push people to that next paradigm and get through that next I guess, barrier is how you describe it.
Assuming everything goes great this week, do you think there'll be an appetite next year for Island Challenge again? For
me? Oh, yeah. Yeah, as long as my body holds up, I'm in, as long as I don't get disintegrated in this contest. Yeah, hopefully I can keep it going, for a little while. Yeah, for sure.
How is the body feeling?
Yeah, good. Right now I feel pretty good. It's hard. Traveling is not easy a lot of the times. You get out of your rhythms, and that's hard. I feel like I'm more and more sensitive as I get older. So it's even more important to eat just right and do, get your stretches in and blah, 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 blah. So these things are, become more and more important and more definitive as you age, it seems.